Trews guitarist John-Angus MacDonald joining us right now to talk about the 20th anniversary tour for the House of Ill Fame album. I want to know, what's a standout song on that album? Which one do you enjoy performing live?
There's been some really fun revelations, like the song Why Bother is been really fun to play. It's just got this youthful energy to it that you can only have when you're writing songs when you're 21 and 22. And it's been a cool rediscovery. It's really amps up the energy and show. The song Hopeless, we have literally not played since the first album tour. So it's a great, moody, different kind of song for us. And it's been really fun to play live. So honestly, the whole thing has been obviously Not Ready to Go and Tired of Waiting have been staples of our show ever since. But some of these other songs have really good legs, it turns out. They still hold up live, and we've been having a lot of fun playing them.
I imagine it's kind of like opening up a time capsule.
A little bit, yeah. It also tests the memory, especially for the lyrics and stuff that haven't sung these things in a really long time. So there was some brushing up involved, but it feels good to play it.
So what's keeping you busy on the road? Are you binge watching anything, reading anything?
I'm reading this fantastic biography on Brian Wilson called Catch a Wave. For whatever reason, when I'm on the road, I need light reading. And so any kind of rock bio kind of fits the bill. So that's been really fun to read. I'm watching that Netflix series Painkiller on the OxyContin crisis, and that's been a complete bummer, but it's well done. So I've been binging that. Otherwise, the shows keep us busy. We travel, we hang out, we have a few drinks after the show. The routine. It's been doing it for a while now.
Well, yeah, you have an impressive career-spanning resume that's far too long for me to list. But for you personally, I guess, getting a little nostalgic, looking back, are there any career highlights that stand out from the rest? I mean, either sharing the stage with a specific musician or maybe hearing your song on the radio for the first time?
Yeah, all those things, all those milestones, any first, the first time you hear your song, it's never as exciting again, or the first time you're presented with a gold record award or you hear about a song going to number one. And it's these things, they kind of lodge in your memory because you're never quite that excited about it again, as much as it's always great. Every time anything nice like that happens, it's always great. But that first time is just the time that you feel it the most. And I mean, we've been so lucky to play with so many of our heroes, we shared the stage with the Stones back in 2005, and I still think of that show all the time. It was a total career highlight. We played with Bruce Springsteen back in 2012, I think it was, and he actually invited us up on stage with him, and we actually jammed with him in the encore at his show. So these kind of once in a lifetime opportunities that we try not to take any of it for granted, because at one point we were just kids on the outside looking in to the great big scary music industry, and so to get to do those kind of once in a lifetime things, it's you got to step back sometimes and just be grateful.
Well, and if we can look back 2 decades, give or take, the first time you heard your song on the radio, what were you guys doing? Were you together?
Yeah, we were together. I think we had won a radio contest in St. Catharines, where we had a band house down in St. Catharines at the time, and we entered the 97.7 Hits FM rock search. Yeah, every kind of station has some version of this where they run a contest with local bands, and the winner gets this prize package, yada yada, and they'll play your song on the radio. So we won the thing, and we knew it was coming up the next afternoon. So we got in the car, I went for a drive around town, and waited for it, and cranked it. It was great. And then they added it in rotation, and that was sort of our entrance into the radio world, because it got really successful on that station and kind of spread to others. And yeah, it was just a huge high.
Well, and the landscape has changed so much ever since, hearing your song on the radio for the first time to now. There's all this competition in terms of streaming services and stuff like that. So how have you guys adapted to the new reality, I guess?
Well, it's kind of adapt or die in so many fields. It's music's not alone. Streaming disrupted movies and television. Streaming disrupted music. It seems inevitable, So we try not to resist. I think it's not a futile thing to try to dig your heels in and like not go on the streaming platforms or something. But because I think wherever the action is, you got to go where the people are, and the people are into these services. That's what they want to do. They want like an all-you-can-eat buffet of music, and just pay once and have everything. So that's where the action's at. So that's what you do. There's things wrong with it. There's things that I think need to be improved, and I think like a sort of more transparent back end and how people are compensated, that can all be really improved. And I think it ultimately will improve. Like I often think of this as like the Wild West of just the internet in general. Like we're really in the nascent phases of it still, like the last 20 years. And I think the internet in 20 years is not going to look anything like the internet we have today. It's just, there'll be new norms adopted. We'll have a better sense of what is BS and what is real. Like I hope. I think that's like the best hope for humanity anyway. Because social media is it's like a double-edged sword. In one way, we never had that direct of a line to our fan base. Like if we wanted to tell our fans everything, we had to draft a press release and then hope newspapers picked it up and or go on an interview. But like now, if you want to tell your fans about something, you can reach them in microseconds. So it's like, it's not that's a brilliant thing to have at your disposal. But at the other hand, it's like you're kind of a slave to this algorithm, and you have to feed the beast, and it kind of there's the whole I think ultimately it can turn you into a total zombie too as a user. So there's good and bad things about all of it. We just try to, I don't know if navigating is the right word. Maybe weathering the storm might be the better word.
You're coming at it from a really level-headed approach, and you need to, right? I mean, you've seen the industry change right before your eyes, and I think you're right. I think that, things are only going to get better as time goes on. At least that's the hope. Don't feel obligated to get too political and in the weeds on this, but there has been a lot of conversation about inflation, obviously, and concert tickets are not exempt from that. I think you bring a unique perspective because there's nothing like seeing the music live. Is this something that's consistently on your radar as a musician, increase of concert ticket prices?
Yeah, we're sort of, we're nowhere near the upper end of the concert ticket pricing scale. Like you can see us probably for $45 to $65. I mean, if I'm wrong on any specific shows, then you can call me out, use social media, tweet me. Obviously, musicians don't control the secondary market, and that's a supply and demand issue. If the T-Swifts all sold out and you really want it and the guy next to you really wants it, then that's just going to raise the price to whoever, blinks first. So also, I kind of think that there's a slight hypocritical element to this. The tickets for the Super Bowl in 2 weeks are going for $14,000. And nobody is up in arms about what are they doing charging $14,000. Well, clearly somebody's willing to pay that. So they get all up in arms because Springsteen tickets went upward to $1,000. Well, Springsteen may never tour again. There's going to be a Super Bowl next year. I promise, you know what I mean? And music in a way is even more scarce. Taylor Swift may decide never to tour again. I mean, she certainly doesn't need the money. So, and yet people really, they like to hammer on the artist more than anybody else, but you can't see the Leafs for under $500, So it's kind of a hypocritical thing if you ask me. I think because musicians are, by and large, people that are supposed to be keeping it real, and I agree with that, and I agree that they should be keeping it real, but at the same time, it's kind of what the market will bear. It's if the guy next to you wants to see the show worse than you do, then I don't know why those laws shouldn't apply to that too,
That's a really good way to think about it. You brought up the
but at the same time, I want to say though, I don't think artists should gouge intentionally. And we do work to keep our ticket prices affordable because at the end of the day, you don't just want a bunch of Fortune 500, CEOs, with their bleach blonde dates sitting there in the front row. You want your fans to be able to afford to go. And I think that artists have a certain amount of control to say this is what the surface price of the ticket is. You know what I mean? And we do keep it pretty low by today's standards. But then once it's in secondary market, it's kind of out of our control. Once it goes onto StubHub, and that's where so many of them get snapped up and they end up right away in the secondary market where it's just like the stock market. It's whoever somebody's willing to pay, it's going to go there.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's such a common misconception, I think, is that people are under the impression the people on stage are setting the ticket prices. That's not the reality, unfortunately. But you did bring up the Super Bowl. I want to know who you're taking.
I think the Chiefs are going to win. I didn't want this outcome. I'm a Bills fan, and my heart was broken 2 weeks ago. But the Chiefs in the playoffs look like the Chiefs that won the Super Bowl last year. They didn't look that good all season, so I'm going to take the Chiefs.
No, anybody but the Chiefs. Come on, buddy. I thought we were friends.
Yeah, well, I know. You're a 49ers fan, or you just don't like the Chiefs?
I just like anybody but the Chiefs at this point. I'm a Bengals fan, so a little bitter.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Well, you never know. Some people think that it's already scripted. I mean,
it is kind of a fairy tale thing happening over there, isn't it? It's like Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe or something. It's kind of a crazy, everybody's like, how much bigger can the NFL get? It's already the biggest sport in America. And it's like, oh, wait, well, add the biggest pop star in the world into the mix, and we'll see how much bigger it can get.
So with your busy schedule, I know you're doing a lot of reading and some binge-watching TV. Are you paying any attention to upcoming musicians, Canadian musicians, anyone that you're kind of following and really taking a liking to?
Yeah, I mean, I will shout out our opener just because they've been doing a great job, like the band Bleecker. I'm sure they're not totally up and coming. They've been around for a little while. They've had a couple big songs and stuff, but they've been their new material sounds great, and they've been really, really killing it. I like the band Texas King. I like the band Cassador. There's a guy named Matty Leon out of Hamilton who I really think is a great singer-songwriter. There's Bernadette Connors is another singer-songwriter out of Hamilton. So there's so much music out there. It's actually kind of overwhelming, how much stuff is always coming out. So I try to pay attention to the stuff that I like and again, sometimes we're in a position to help these folks out. I've produced a lot of young bands because it's a crazy industry, and it's sometimes really hard to figure out where to get your foot in the door.
Well, look at you, John-Angus, giving us some homework, checking out some fresh names maybe. I like it.
Yeah, well, like I said, there's no shortage of music. It's not scarce.
20th anniversary House of Ill Fame album. The box set is now available. You're touring across Canada. Anything else that we should be hitting on today? Anything else that you want to add, John-Angus?
Well, just that, we're out here doing this 20th anniversary thing, and it's been great. It's been really kind of reinvigorating for the band. But we kind of hope to take this energy and dump it all into our new record because we don't want to be an oldies act. So happy to celebrate this 20th anniversary thing and revisit these songs. And I think as soon as it's done, we're going to put all that energy into more music, and we hope to have some singles and a record ready by the spring, early summer.